So let's talk about the power situation. This is my usage. This is February 8th. So this is the day that our new power rates began. And the way it works is from 1 to 3, so not including this one, but for these two, it is the cheapest. And then starting at 11 until 4, it is the cheapest. On the weekends, you get your regular rate, 9.5 whatever cent per kilowatt hour. And then under the cheaper rate, you get 6.5 whatever per kilowatt hour. Um, there's no higher priced electricity during the weekends. So as you can see, my cars started charging as per normal, 24 kilowatt hour there at 1 a.m. and then 24 again at 2. And then obviously, because we're not on the cheaper power, we go back to our normal usage, about 1.5 kilowatt hour per hour. Hour per hour. At 11, when the cheaper price started, again, we hit 23 and then 18 and then 6. The cars were finishing charging, so it slowed down, and then we went back to our normal usage. February 8th and then February 9th obviously is the weekend as well, so we jumped up there 12 kilowatt at 1 a.m. and then back to normal programming. Here's 11. We did 3. I don't really know what changed there. Um, the schedule was working. Monday is our first day with super on peak. And I also needed to use the truck Monday. And I knew that I didn't have time to let it set and charge, from 11. I had to leave at like 7. So I went ahead and let it charge at the not so cheap rate here at midnight, 10 kilowatt, and then 13, 13, and then it finished here at 3, we'll say. And then we went to our normal usage, 2, 1.5. Our expensive hours start at 6, so as you can see, my cost saving measures were working. 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. And then when the higher price power goes away, it jumps back up 4 kilowatt. That's probably largely the heat kicking back on, trying to get the house brought back to temperature or whatever. And that worked. All of my schedules were working, and then they stopped working. So here's the cheaper rates, 13, 13. You get over here to 6, it's more expensive. We used 0.4, 0.38, which is massive low, and then 2.94. And I'm going, what? What happened? What turned on at the 8 a.m. mark that burnt through my savings there? Now, obviously, the cheaper rate here, so we go up to 15, 13, 18, 24. 2 cars charging at once there on 24. And then they finished. So I don't know what happened. I don't know what started, but I thought, okay, well maybe something was just a fluke. So we'll go the next day, and like clockwork, 0.5, 0.5, 3.8 or oh 08. And I'm thinking, what the heck? Like, why is it suddenly pulling extra power at this hour? So I didn't notice it until Thursday, and it was already too late to make a change to what was happening. I noticed it on midday Thursday that, for the past few days, and I can't see Thursday in real time, so I seen this the next day, and it was the same thing, 3.35 at 8 a.m. Don't know why. Just all of a sudden spikes at 8 a.m. We're not awake at 8 a.m. We're not running anything. Nothing in the house should change from here to here. The only thing I could think that could possibly be happening was my heat and air. Maybe the temperature's falling too low or going too high that it's causing the air to kick on. I only had about a 3-degree difference, so we keep our heat on 71 and our air on 73. And, if it goes above 73, the air kicks on. If it goes below 71, the heat kicks on. It's all automatic. And I had this set to go about 3 degrees higher on the air and 3 degrees lower on the heat during these 3 hours. And in my testing, even on the coldest days, it held its temperature for the 3 hours, and then it was able to kick back on and be fine at that fourth hour. Um, so I just assumed that was what was going on. I assumed that was the problem. So I made some adjustments to my thermostat, and I dropped it 10 degrees. So instead of 71, I went 61 for the heat. And instead of 73, I went 80 for the air. I didn't want to go any higher than 80. So just for these 3 hours, I think the house will be fine for 3 hours. If it gets a little cold, we'll get over it. It'll get warm again in a little bit. I implemented that change for Friday the 14th, and it was worse. We used our 0.58 at 6. We jumped to 2.56 at 7, and then 3.34 at 8. And I don't have any clue why. So I'm making this video on Monday, and obviously I can't see power usage in real time. But here in a couple of hours, we're going to hit our 6, 7, 8 mark and see what happens. I don't think it's the heat. I don't know what it is. There's not a single thing that could be plugged in using that much power. An appliance, any kind of 120 volt appliance, is plugged into a 15 amp outlet. The most you should see is like 1800 watts, 1.8 kilowatt. If we're normally pulling 0.5, then 2.3 should be the absolute maximum if it is a 120 volt appliance causing this issue. When we're seeing 2.5, I question it. And especially when it goes to 3.34, I question it. Now, like I said, the weekends they're not on this schedule. We do whatever we want on the weekend because we don't have. Now, this is interesting. Something is kicking on at 8, even on the weekend. I don't know what it is. And it's using about the same amount here. So, I mean, it very well could be the heat in this situation because we don't do adjustments for hours on the weekend. It's too early to tell on that one. I wish they would do better about this usage information, because used to you could plug a device into your house and get real time updates and see where you're at right now. They don't offer that anymore. I've been looking into like what is it, Empower something? I don't know what it's called now. It's a device that you wire into your panel that can track every circuit and tell you where the power's going. We can even break it down into 30-minute intervals here. And as you can see, 6, nothing. 6:30, nothing. 7, really not much. But then 7:30 went to 1.8. 8, 1.4. And then 8:30, 1.94. So something has got to be going on. I just don't know what it is. And this, to me, looks like the heat. It looks, because it's fluctuating. It's up and down. It's not steady. It's not steadily growing. I don't know what it is. I haven't figured out what the problem is here. At 8, 1.5, and then it grew 1.8, and then it kept growing 2.65, and it leveled off. That still looks like the heat to me, but I really don't know. And I really didn't implement that until Friday anyway. But Friday should have been foolproof, and it was worse. So I am not sure. I'm going to try to. My goal is to be awake at 8 a.m. I don't think I'm going to be awake at 8 a.m. because, that's a while away, and I'll probably fall asleep between now and then. But I'd really like to be awake at 8 a.m. just to see what's happening, what's running. I've got cameras. I guess I could pull the cameras up and see if the air's running or anything. But like, something has got to be turning on at 8 a.m. for the past week, causing this issue. It's probably not that big of a deal, but the issue is, we pay 6.5 cent kilowatt hour in the cheap hours. We pay 9.5 cent in the more expensive, or, the regular off peak. But in these, we're paying 20 cent a kilowatt hour. These will start to add up massively if we don't nip this in the butt right now. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll try to figure it out. Once I do, I will let you know what happened, what was going on. I'm on the verge of buying that smart integration kit to run it into my panel to tell me where every exact watt is going and to where and why. I need to know what's happening here. Why is it doing this? We have outdoor lights that we run. They're on 24/7, but they don't actually come on until the dusk sensor hits. So they're dusk till dawn lights. I'm actually going to put them on a smart Wi-Fi switch so that at 6 a.m. I can cut them off because we're not up. We don't need lights outside at that hour anyway. And my math says that those are about 0.3 kilowatt hour. If we're using 0.5, 0.6, we could cut that in half, maybe even a little more than half, by killing those outdoor lights. So the goal is savings. The goal is to use the least amount we possibly can in this 3-hour mark right here. And I don't know what has happened. I don't understand why it was working. We were running this test before the week even started, just, to make sure all of my stuff was working. 0.51, 0.59, 0.57. I don't know. Did we run it the day before too? Yeah, we did. 0.44, 0.37, 0.68. All this was working, and you can see the big jump when the heat kicks on there at 9. I don't understand why all of a sudden, now here, I guess technically this one didn't work, and I don't know if we were actually running the schedule. That's potentially something to look into. So February 5th, which would be around the same day. Did it start here? Oh, yeah, it started the day before. Well, heck, I don't know. But February 5th, something kicked on at 8 a.m. and used 2.5 kilowatt hour. 0.36, 0.52. Did we do it the day before? I kind of set all this up in advance so that, I was testing it, watching it. You can see we're following the schedule before we were even on the new rate, just because I wanted to make sure all my stuff worked. I didn't want to jump in with both feet and it not be working. This one, I'm not sure if we were actually following the schedule, because 0.95, it did drop to 0.46, but right back up. At this point, we may not have actually been on the schedule yet. Here, there's no change, so we weren't on the schedule there. So it's likely that I started it just a few days before the rate took place. But I am at a complete loss as to what is pulling power. And if I don't figure it out soon, I'm going to buy that smart integration panel and start tracking every single circuit to see where is this power going. There's really not much here that could be pulling a lot of power. I mean, the main power users are, my office, all the little electronics in my office, and my server, and, the camera system, the TVs. All of those are on batteries that completely power down at 6 a.m. and they do not pull an ounce of energy out of the wall until 9. So those are it. Like, there's nothing else that could be using. We don't have a space heater or anything like that plugged in. In the garage, like, there is a dehumidifier, but it's completely off. It should not be running at all. Now I kind of feel like I should go check that. It should be off. So I don't know. And it doesn't make any sense to why everything works great at the 6 hour and then something's kicking back on. Like I said, I've done a 10-degree difference on the heat and air now to almost guarantee it's not going to kick back on. There should be nothing. And like I say, This isn't one thing. It's either multiple 120 volt things pulling, or it's something 240 volt. And I know that all of my Tesla chargers are programmed not to do anything during those hours. Even if there's no schedule and the car just wants all that it can get, do not pull power during these 3 hours. That's how it's set up. So it's not the car chargers. I just have no clue. In complete other news, last night, on Sunday night, we were kind of just looking at the breaker panel just to kind of get an idea of how this smart home integration thing would work. And I discovered a breaker that I did not know what it was for. In the panel, all the breakers that were built into it with the house are small breakers that have two circuits per slot, I guess you would call it. All of them are that way, and they're just 120 volt breakers, and that's just the way it's set up. At the bottom of the panel, there were two full size breakers, and I thought, okay, these were added after the fact. One of them goes to the furnace, and that I've checked that it does power the furnace. The other one is not labeled. It is a 15 amp 120 volt breaker. I have no clue what it goes to. I turned it off. Nothing seemed to change. So we're going to leave it off and just see what happens. I don't know what it's for. I don't know what it goes to, but we're going to just see what happens. So yeah, that's the current, what we're exploring, but I will follow up and let you guys know if and what it was causing all of this right here. We're going to try to test it again today. And the thing is, it may actually just go away and stop, and then I'll never know, because like I say, Friday I adjusted the heat and it still did it. So nothing has changed for today. If it doesn't do it, I'm going to be at a complete loss. I have no clue what was happening. Someone told me to check my Xbox, because apparently Xboxes pull power. That's true. It may, but the Xbox is on the battery that is completely disconnected from the wall during these 3 hours. So I don't know. Completely lost. Okay, I figured it out. I'm like 99.99999% sure. I can't see it yet because here's our energy usage. I can only see the 17th, which was Monday. And as you can see, it did do it on the 17th. So that was, well, actually, that's yesterday, as of recording right now. So, I made the last video around this time here, about 1 a.m. Monday morning, and I was going to try to just stay up, and I didn't. But what I did do is I set my alarm for about 7:30, and I just wanted to see what happened at this 8 o'clock hour, because I knew that, this is kind of par for the course here. So this is my thermostat in web browser view, and most of the time I manage it on my phone, and I never actually go to this website. But what ended up happening is, and we'll look at my schedule here, you can see that my on peak is set to 62 heat, 80 cool. I made that adjustment Monday night because I'm like, I want to take it to extremes to make sure that there's no issue. And I added back my before peak. So I heat the house to 72, and then I let it at 5 a.m. and then at 6, I let it drop to 62. At 8 a.m., the heat came on. And although this was set to 62, it was 68 in the house and the heat was on. And I could actually see 62 right here, well, actually down here, but it was 68 and heating. And I'm like, what the heck? So clearly something was going on. Clearly it was not following the schedule. And someone told me that there's a setting on the device that you cannot access from your phone that's causing this. And I'm like, seriously? So I go to the web browser, settings. This is the layout of how it is on the actual thermostat. These are more settings than you would get on your phone. But I believe it's preferences and smart recovery heat mode. If the desired temperature is scheduled to change from 65 to 70 at 6 a.m., the smart recovery is disabled. Your Ecobee will not automatically figure out when to start heating your home in order to reach the desired temperature by the specified time. So by telling it that I wanted it to turn back on at 9, it was trying to preemptively warm the house to get to that temperature by 9. It was kicking on at 8, causing that to happen. So I had to disable this, and it does it for cool as well. So that was the issue. That was what it was doing. And I disabled it, and it ran this morning. Like I said, I can't see the power usage just yet because we're not that far into. I'll have to wait till about noon tomorrow before I can click this day and see what it did. But I'm almost certain that we fixed it. We will follow up on that. But that's pretty sure what it was. When I woke up, the heat was running, and I didn't get that change. I actually was doing research the whole time, and it wasn't until after the 9 o'clock hour that I figured it out and was able to fix it. So I couldn't really test it until Tuesday, which was today. I do want to mention that I had talked about this. It's Emporia. I don't know what I called it earlier. View 3, it's a home energy monitor. The main system's $200. It comes with 16 sensors. You can get an 8 sensor for $149 or just the monitor for $99. The monitor itself just does your main lines coming in and tells you what you're pulling from the grid, and that's it. These little ones tell you what each circuit is doing. I honestly thought about getting the 16 sensor to put. I would just basically put the main 2 and 4 of these in my outside panel, and I would hold on to the rest of the sensors, and then later on buy just the monitor only to put inside the house and use the remaining sensors from the first one to track circuits in the house. My main intent with this would be to monitor what's coming from the grid. And I guess technically I could buy the monitor only for now. And when I'm ready to go full on and buy this one, I could add 4 of these to the first one and then the rest, to the inside. We have 9 circuits in the house that would be monitored, and we have 4 outside. But so the 4 outside are all 240 volt, and you can use just one sensor for that and tell it to multiply the factor by 2 because it's 240 volt. The only issue is, like, my garage has other 120 volt things. So if I put the sensor on one side of the 240 volt and most of the power is being pulled on the other, we would miss that entirely. So I intend to use 2 of these for, one for each side, one for each leg of the garage power. And then we can do like 1 for the air conditioner and just power factor it by 2. And then 1 for my Tesla charger that charges my truck, power factor by 2. And the rest can all go inside. I think we're still going to have plenty. Like I say, 9 circuits, we're going to have 3 extra left over. So yeah, there's a 4th thing in the outside box, but that's for the generator. So, like, honestly, there's no reason to put one of these on that. So I still think I would have about 3 left over. That if I really just wanted to, I could clamp them on some of the other 240 volt appliances and track them fully instead of doing a power factor by 2 thing. But that's $300. Not really something I want to spend right now. I'd love to have it. I'd love to be able to monitor in real time my power usage. And like I say, I may just start with this one and see where it goes, because that's the main thing. I want to see what I'm pulling from the grid in real time. But it's not a requirement right now, and I don't really want to just blow the money on it right now. So maybe in the future. It's still too early to tell. Okay, so I guess we crossed over midnight, and that's why it refreshed. And now I can click Tuesday, but it's too early to tell. I have to wait till noon before I can get these readings. That's why I want real time monitoring. I could already know my answer without having to look at the power company's meter if I had that installed. Anyway, the only other thing I did on Monday was I installed that Wi-Fi switch for my outdoor lights. And best I can tell, my outdoor lights pull somewhere between 2 and 300 watts per hour, which is zero point 0.2 or zero point 0.3 kilowatt hour. If that's 1.15 for Tuesday, I will be so happy. If we can manage to pull somewhere between 0.15 and 0.25 or 26 for those 3 hours every day, I would be really happy about that, because the cost would be so low. Let's just say an average of 0.2, point Q apparently, times 3, because that's how many hours, and then times 5, because there's 5 weeks in a month, I guess. I mean, 5 days in a week. Wow, I don't even know what I'm doing. Times 4, that'd be 12 kilowatt hour in the month, and 12 at 20 cent is $2.40. Versus, like, if we did our average here, what's our average? Somewhere in this 3.23. I mean, that's where the line says average. Let's just use one of these. 1.37, maybe 2.1. So let's say 1.75, just for example. 1.7, okay, I don't know what I'm doing here. 75 times, okay, times 3 for 3 hours, times 5 times 4 is 105. 105 at 20 is $21. So, whatever I just said, because now I've done forgot, that's how much we're saving. Did I say like $20 or something? I don't remember. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of potential savings. I mean, that's 21, so it wasn't 20. I don't know. It's a lot of potential savings just by trying to cut usage during these 3 hours. And then every other hour is cheaper. I mean, everything other than these 3 hours is at like 0.95 cent per kilowatt hour. And we used to pay 0.115 cent per kilowatt hour at all times. So if most of the time is 0.9 and we just don't use during these 3 hours, the savings are endless. So so yeah, we will recap this tomorrow, probably about noon. Actually, it's midnight now, so today, probably about noon, in about 12 hours, I will finish this video and show you what happened for Tuesday. I'm crossing my fingers, but I'm pretty sure we got this problem solved. Just to recap, it did fix it. We do have the 3 hours here. Unfortunately, my Wi-Fi switch didn't make that big of a difference. We're still at 0.55, 0.47, 0.45. That's about average. So not real sure what pulls 500, 400 watts during these hours. I've checked and tried to chase some loads, and there's a few things that I can try, but for the most part, I'm not upset about that. That's perfect as far as usage goes. So, but we did fix the spike from the heat, and then my Wi-Fi switch, I don't think it did a whole lot, but whatever. It's there, it's working. So yeah,